The lawyers behind this channel have been using Claude in legal practice for over a year now. In that time, they've tried a lot of workflows, some that got used once and abandoned, and some that just stuck. This episode is about the ones that stuck, the 5 they wouldn't go back to doing manually. We're starting with 3 practical picks, the ones that come up in everyday work across pretty much any practice area. Then 2 judgment-level picks, the ones where Claude's job isn't to produce something, it's to scrutinize something that's already been produced. Every prompt is in the description. Copy them directly and run them. First pick, matter orientation before a client call. You know the situation. Client call in 20 minutes, you've got a file you haven't looked at in 2 weeks, and you need to reconstruct where everything is from a pile of email threads and file notes. That used to take 20 minutes. Now it's a prompt and a 2-minute wait. Paste the file summary into Claude and run this. I have a call with my client in time frame. Here is the matter summary. Paste. Give me where this matter currently stands, the 3 things most likely to come up in the call, any deadlines or outstanding items I should be aware of, and the 1 thing most likely to concern the client right now. Flag anything uncertain with verify. What comes back is basically a call brief structured around what you actually need in the next 10 minutes. The likely talking points, the deadlines to have front of mind, the thing that's probably weighing on the client going into the conversation. It's not a glamorous workflow, but reconstructing context before a call is one of the bigger time drains in practice, and it's not exactly where you want your thinking going before a client conversation. Claude does it faster and more thoroughly than you can under that kind of time pressure. The call's better prepared, the client experience is better, and the 20 minutes goes somewhere more useful. Second pick, the client update letter with the client register. Here's the problem with most Claude client letters. They read like Claude wrote them. Accurate, well-structured, and completely generic. The kind of letter that could have gone to any client in a similar situation. The client register is what fixes that. It's 5 fields you add to the brief before any client-facing prompt. Takes about 30 seconds, but the output is genuinely a different letter. The fields tell Claude who it's actually writing for. Legal sophistication, none, some, or high. Emotional state, anxious, frustrated, businesslike. Their primary concern right now. What they already know about this. What they need to do next. Then 2 more instructions. What the letter should move toward and what it needs to stay away from. Something like moving toward warm and direct, specific to this client. Moving away from template sounding, or so procedural it doesn't acknowledge what this update actually means to them. The letter that comes back reads like it was written by a lawyer who knows this particular person, not a lawyer who knows people like them. That's a meaningful difference in how the client receives it, and it's the kind of thing that drives referrals, not just satisfaction. Third pick, extracting every date and deadline from a contract. 1 prompt, structured table, every obligation and deadline in the document, including the ones buried in the definitions and schedules that are easy to miss when you're working through a long agreement. The prompt. Read this agreement and extract every date, deadline, and time-sensitive obligation in the document. Present them as a structured table with the obligation or event, the date or trigger, the party responsible, and the consequence of missing it. Include anything in the schedules and definitions, not just the main body. Flag anything uncertain with verify. What comes back is essentially a deadline register. Every date in the document, structured and ready to go into the matter diary. The reason this one made the list isn't speed, it's thoroughness. Claude reads the whole document before it produces the table. It doesn't miss the long stop date in the definitions because it's buried on page 40. It doesn't skip Schedule 3 because it's 4 in the afternoon. The table's as thorough at the end of a long day as it is first thing in the morning. Just verify every date against the document before it goes into the diary. Claude occasionally misreads a calculated date or a trigger condition. The verify flag catches most of it, and your check catches the rest. Fourth pick, the opposition read. Any document the other side's going to respond to, a skeleton argument, a written submission, a negotiation position, run this before it goes out. Read this as the opposing party's most experienced lawyer. What are the 3 weakest points in this argument? What would you attack first and why? What gaps in the reasoning would you exploit? What would you find unconvincing, regardless of how well it's drafted? The thing about Claude here is that it genuinely doesn't care about the argument. It's got no stake in the position being right, no investment in the hours that went into drafting it, no confirmation bias from having lived with the matter for weeks. It'll read the submission as an adversary and tell you what's weak with the same confidence it uses to tell you what's strong. The output's a bit uncomfortable to read. That's actually the point. The weaknesses Claude finds before filing are the ones you can fix. The ones that get found at the hearing aren't. It made the list because it finds things consistently. Not always something that changes the submission fundamentally, but regularly something that tightens the argument, closes a gap, or shifts the emphasis in a way that matters. 5 minutes before filing. Worth it every time. Fifth pick, the verification sweep. After any significant Claude output, complex legal analysis, a document with legal propositions someone's going to rely on, anything where the stakes are high, run this. Review your output systematically. For every legal proposition, factual assertion, and case or statutory reference, flag it with verify if you're not certain it's accurate, current, and applicable to the jurisdiction and facts provided. Don't assume something's correct because it sounds confident. Be more conservative than you were in the original output. Claude's main failure mode is confident-sounding inaccuracy, getting things wrong in exactly the same register as getting things right. Including verify in the original prompt catches a lot of it, but not all of it, because Claude doesn't always know what it doesn't know. The verification sweep asks it to go back through its own output with a more conservative eye. What comes back is a revised version with additional verify flags on things Claude stated confidently the first time around that it probably shouldn't have. Those flags are tasks. Resolve every one against a primary source before the document goes anywhere. It made the list because it meaningfully changes the professional risk profile of Claude-assisted output. Not by removing the need for a lawyer to check the work, that's always the last step, but by making sure that check is working from Claude's honest assessment of its own uncertainty, not just its first-pass confidence. These aren't the most technically sophisticated workflows the panel has built. They're just the ones that kept showing up. The workflows that stick tend to have a few things in common. They solve something that comes up constantly, not an edge case, but a regular part of most lawyers' days. They work reliably, not just on a good run. And honestly, they give back time that was going somewhere it shouldn't have been. The call prep gives back 20 minutes of stressful context reconstruction. The client letter gives back the gap between something competent and something personal. The deadline extraction gives back an afternoon of manual reading. The opposition read gives back the weaknesses you didn't have time to find yourself. The verification sweep gives back some confidence that the output's been honestly scrutinized before it goes out. Where that time goes is up to you. That's kind of the point. 5 workflows. Pick one, get it working, then add the next. All 5 prompts are in the description. Copy them and run them today. More workflows and episodes are on the channel and linked in the episode descriptions. That's the episode. See you in the next one.